just going to go through the 5 most common deadlifting mistakes that we see or I see as a coach. Okay, a little bit about Get Gym Fit. We are here for fitness beginners. We want you to feel confident in a gym, and there's a lot of barriers that you may face when you first join a gym. One might be that you don't know what correct exercise technique looks like, and maybe you've faced gym membership consultants that are a little bit pushy. Whatever it is, whatever barriers you're facing, Get Gym Fit is all about helping you overcome those barriers. So today, again, we're going to be addressing those 5 most common deadlifting mistakes and just helping you overcome those barriers. Okay, so the first one is squatting, not hinging. Okay, so when you do a deadlift, it is actually a hip hinge movement. Okay, and if you don't know what that is, that's okay. But essentially, when we do a deadlift or any sort of hip hinge movement, we want to be working our posterior chain. Our posterior chain is our hamstrings, our glutes, and our lower back. Okay, when we do, conversely, a squat is all about loading the anterior chain, so our quads and pushing through the floor with the front of our body. Okay, so deadlifting is an posterior chain movement. We want to be hinging, not squatting. So often I will see people come up to the deadlift bar and they'll squat down and they'll try and deadlift around their knees. Okay? You can see as soon as I try to squat or use a squatting pattern, my knees immediately get in the way. Okay? Which is not what we want to be doing. Okay? It's not actually loading us in the correct fashion. So when we do a deadlift, we want to come up to the bar, nice and close. We want to hinge first, okay? You might feel a little bit of a hamstring stretch as you do so, and then you want to load up through the hips and pull through like so. So it's almost like a hip pull rather than a squat push, okay? So that's the most common one we see, and that's number 1, okay? If you're getting value from this content, hit the subscribe and like button because there's heaps more stuff that is coming out. On to the second tip, okay? And this one is not actually having a neutral spine, okay? When we have a neutral spine, that is the optimal position for loading, okay? If we have a bent spine, we're actually not loading our spine, firstly, correctly, but also it's not going to be safe, okay? So, having a neutral spine, it looks a little something like this. To find your neutral spine, the first thing you want to do, okay, is imagine you've got a nice flat back and you're going to tilt your pelvis forward and back, create an arch, and then arch the other way, and then try and find that nice flat back. A little bit of an arch is okay, because what you'll notice with the spine is it's a bit of an S shape, okay? When you deadlift, we want to be in that optimal loading position, that neutral spine, and it looks a little something like this. Nice flat back, okay? Again, we're hip hinging, and we're coming up like so, okay? Again, that nice flat back. What we see often is, this common mistake will be people slumping, or perhaps they're even arching too much and they've got an excessive curve, okay? So again, finding that neutral spine, not excessively curved one way or another, and that's going to help you actually get the most out of the deadlift, okay? So that's number 2. The third one is bum shoving, okay? Now this is a term, I do strength and conditioning with rowers, and rowers talk about, well, they display this characteristic when they do a deadlift called bum shoving. So essentially, bum shoving is all about shoving, you can see, shoving my bum, okay? So it looks a little something like this if you're doing it incorrectly, okay? You shoot up at the hips and then you try and bring your torso up. So you're not actually getting that connection between your hips and your torso. You want your hips and your torso to move at the same time. Notice how as my hips come up, so does my torso. And that allows my hips to come through nicely and actually to engage, essentially have an even spread of load throughout my upper and lower body. Okay, so again, if you're doing it correctly, looks like this. It's coming up together instead of bum shoving and then the rest of my body comes through. Okay, so that is the third common mistake we see. Again, if you're getting value, please hit the subscribe button and we'll move on to our 4th point. Okay, the next one is having the bar too far away from you when you are deadlifting. Okay, so the problem with this is not only it makes us more susceptible to being in a not having a neutral spine, but if you've ever moved house, maybe moved down to another neighborhood, or for whatever reason you've carried a really heavy box, okay? Got to catch my breath. Deadlift is hard. But essentially, if you've carried around a really heavy box, you'll notice that the further away it is from your center of mass or your body, the harder it is to actually carry, and you'll notice that you feel a little bit more of that load through the lower back. Okay, it's not necessarily a bad thing to load our lower back. We want it to get stronger, but our hips and our glutes are far more stronger. We want to load them and prioritize them in the movement. So having the bar too far away, if I try to pull from here, that's an exaggeration, but say there's some people that will pull and the bar's above their toes rather than their shoelaces. So the closer you can get to the bar, the better. Okay, so if I pull from here, again, it's harder to maintain that neutral spine, and that bar is way further away from my body and it's putting way more strain on my lower back. Whereas if it's close to me, okay, it might even feel like you're going to hit your shins, that's totally okay. And from there, nice neutral spine, and I'm lifting, and that bar is actually traveling in a vertical fashion, straight up to my hips and straight back down to my shoelaces, okay? So, number 4, that was having the bar too far away. Okay, so that's 4 out of 5 done. Okay, hopefully these ones, those 4, you're starting to tick in your mind. You're like, yeah, maybe I do need to, make a few changes here. Maybe that's why I'm feeling it in my lower back. And the final one is loading too much in the long and the short term. Okay, I'll break it down for you. So essentially, when we do a deadlift, we break down our muscle tissues a little bit in our back. Whatever muscles we're using, they break down a little bit. That's a good thing, because in response to those little micro tears, our body must adapt, get stronger, and actually repair those. So next time we come back to deadlift, we're actually in a stronger state where you've got a little bit more muscle or a little bit stronger. So that's a good thing. But if we don't get that balance right between loading and resting, and we're deadlifting too often and we're loading up our deadlift too much, we're not actually getting that balance right, it will be a detriment to our performance. We're not actually going to get stronger. So loading in the long and short term correctly looks something like this. It might be when you are actually in your sets, okay, you're picking a load that you can handle and you're making sure that your technique doesn't go up the putt. Okay, so making sure you don't just load up the bar and you get your ego too big. You actually lift and make sure you earn the right to progress. You earn the right to actually load that bar up. Okay, so make sure it's a weight you can handle in the short term in the session, but also just giving yourself, I would recommend maybe deadlifting once a week and twice a week at most. Okay, you shouldn't be deadlifting 3 times a week, because unless perhaps you're a beginner, okay, you're a real beginner and it's very light and you're just practicing the technical aspects of the technique. But as soon as you're starting to load that movement and you're pulling up sore, maybe 2 times a week max is what you probably should be deadlifting. Okay, so do not load the movement too much. Understand that it is a taxing movement for your body, okay, and getting that balance right. On that as well is making sure you're getting enough recovery so that once you finish the session of deadlifts, you're actually getting that, you're actually bouncing back quicker. Okay, so things like, I'm not going to delve into it too much today, but making sure you're getting some protein in, enough rest, enough sleep, and you're bouncing back from those sessions. Okay, so again, the reason why we put out these videos is because at Get Gym Fit, we want to help beginners. Okay, beginners, it's hard for you guys. There's a lot of barriers. There's a lot of things that are intimidating about a gym environment. And the reality is that we can really help you navigate that space, okay? Navigate and bridge the gap between feeling overwhelmed and not confident to coming in here and deadlifting like a champ and not even worrying about it and knowing your technique is on point. Okay, so please, again, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. This just allows us to get that content out to more people and just make a bigger impact. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please, please spread the word, and we'll see you next time.